This is the ultimate tier list for tanks and bruisers in Heroes of the Storm. Honestly, I love this game. It's celebrating 10 years this year, so I thought why not make a tier list based on the experience I've had, which, I've played this game since it came out. So let's see how it goes. I want to hear what your takes are as well, because tier lists are fun because no one agrees. So let's check it out. Let's jump in. So I've gone ahead and put all the tanks just into D for now, and then all the bruisers in F. This was just so I could pull them out from the bottom. Nothing like crazy there. So we're starting with Stitches, and with Heroes of the Storm, you have to keep in mind, right, that some tanks might be better in ARAM, some might be better in ranked, some might be better in unranked, like quick match, your typical 3-laner. So it is going to be very interesting on how I place these, and I'm going to try to just be well-rounded with it. And I'm also going to keep in mind difficulty, right, because some heroes are more difficult than others, but that might make them not as good, and it might make them better. So starting off, we have Stitches. Stitches is a very good tank. If you play him really well, he's fantastic in ARAM, fantastic in unranked. I'm not as familiar with ranked. That's one thing I need to get into. In my 10 years, I haven't played ranked in Heroes. I've just enjoyed playing all the other game modes. So for Stitches, though, I think a good place to start is a strong A. He's a really good tank. Moving from there, we have a Nubarak. A Nubarak is also really good. I'm trying to think if I'd say he's better than Stitches, though. And for now, I'm going to throw him in B. But this can change as we add more and more heroes. Now, Arthas used to be really good. And actually, as they slowly, they still make random patches here or then, they've kind of nerfed some of his stuff. And he's not nearly at the same level. So he is really good if you have a good team built around him still. I would say he's not as good as a Nubarak, but still could fit into that B tier. I wouldn't say he's terrible. Now, Mal'Ganis is one of those heroes that you need to be good at. And I'm not good at him. So because of that, this might be a little bit more biased. But I don't think Mal'Ganis is as good as Arthas or Nubarak. So I'm actually going to put him in C. I just don't feel like he's as good. Then we have ETC. ETC is really good in ARAM, or can be. If you watched my video from the other day, I actually was playing ETC in ARAM. And we did win. We did pretty well. But I'm trying to think of where he would be in this type of a lineup. And honestly, I would pick him over Mal'Ganis, but that's because I'm not good at Mal'Ganis. I'm trying to think if I'd pick him over these two, though. I think he's a top C. I think he's a top C because he does have some great abilities like Mosh Pit and different things like that that really can help your team if you play it well. So for that reason, I'm gonna go with a C here, just above Mal'Ganis, because I also like to go left to right with how my brain works. Moving on, we have Diablo. Diablo is another really good tank, and I'm going to put him up with Stitches. I'm actually going to put him above Stitches, I think, because Stitches gets really, really beefy, but Diablo is just really, really good at getting into that back line, pulling people back, getting good stuns. He has the soul stones, where if you collect those, then your death timer, it takes less to come back to life. So I really like Diablo. Blaze is another one that's pretty situational, I feel like. And I'm almost... Yeah, believe it or not, I'm actually going to put Blaze down in D tier. I'm going to leave him here to not get confused. I'll put him at the end. But I'm going to leave Blaze in D tier. I just don't feel like he is nearly as good as the other tanks, even when played well. Now, Johanna is probably, or Joanna, however you guys want to say it, probably an S tier tank. She is phenomenal. You can build her multiple different ways, right? Because I feel like some tanks and some characters, you really only have one way that you can build them. Whereas with her, you can build multiple different types of builds and you're going to be successful. And so I really think she is one of the best tanks in the game. For that reason, I'm going S. Garrosh. Garrosh is really, really good because he can throw people back. So he loves to get out there and throw people back. He can also save his teammates with that ability. Can't tell you what it's called at the top of my head, but he is a really good tank. However, I feel like he's kind of on par with like an ETC, maybe like a top, like a B. I feel like he's kind of on par there. He doesn't stand out. Tyrael is another one that I personally don't like, and he's only decent, I feel like. He's got some good shield for his team. Sometimes he can be in there and help out. But because of that, I would say he's actually in line with this C tier. Because, and like, you could go him, then Mal'Ganis, or either way. For me, I'll go him, then Mal'Ganis, but just kind of depends. That leaves us to Muradin or Muradin. And personally, I love Muradin. But as far as where he'd actually line up on a tier list like this, I think he's about as good as here. Maybe also a C. Like, yeah, no, I think maybe a C as well. Like, he's really, really fun to play with. Being able to just launch in or out, depending on how the game is going, is really nice. You can get some good stunts with your Stormhammer, but I don't feel like, as far as like if you think of what a tank needs to do, it'd be up there and take some damage and do that. Until he really gets his ultimate with Avatar, he can feel actually pretty squishy. That leads us to Mei. Mei is one of the newer tanks. Obviously, they haven't released a new hero in a long time, but one of the newer tanks as far as this roster goes. And Mei is decent. I think she might be down here with Blaze in the D tier. Maybe I'm playing her wrong, so if you guys have a good Mei build, please let me know. I'm more than willing to go play it. And then that leaves Cho. This character is very unique. If you haven't played Heroes of the Storm ever, Cho Gall, it's one body, it's an ogre, right? One body, two heads, and one person just controls some spells and the other person actually is controlling the movement. And so he's a very difficult tank. Really, really fun though. But I would agree that he's probably in this D tier, if not at the very bottom. Like, you could do him or Mei, I think, either way. Just because he's so difficult. And unfortunately, even if you're very good at him, it all becomes situational in the type of map that you end up getting, because if it's a 2-lane map, it's going to be maybe a little bit better than if it's a 3-lane map and you're always dragging 2 people with you out of that 5. So I would say he's a D tier. So that wraps up the tanks. Now we're going to move into the bruisers, which I wanted to bring them in with the tanks because sometimes they feel very similar. But know that bruisers are a little bit different, maybe a little bit more damage focused, but still can build a little tanky if needed, right? Makes sense. So that's starting us off with Deathwing. Now, Deathwing can be really, really fun. His downside, and it's also a pro at times, is he can't heal himself. So you have to be very conscious of your health, and you're a very big body as well. So sometimes you can get in the way and block your other teammates when you're just trying to move around. So Deathwing, I think, is okay. Now, one thing to keep in mind with how I'm doing this tier list is I'm only going to compare bruisers to bruisers and tanks to tanks, because I feel like it's unfair to compare them to each other. Now, I might mention, okay, yeah, they're probably along the similar vein as ETC or, Mal'Ganis or something. But as far as bruisers go, they're probably a little bit better. So keep that in mind. Now with Deathwing, I don't feel like he is terrible, but I also don't feel like he is your like instant lock-in bruiser. So I'm going to go with B tier on him. Just because I feel like, yeah, like I said, he's just not the best. So let's go B tier with Deathwing. And what I'll actually do is I can see how this would get confusing to have both up here. So I'm going to go ahead and take off these tanks. So for one last wrap up of the tanks, we have S tier only with Johanna, A tier Diablo Stitches, B tier Anubarak, Arthas, Garrosh, C tier ETC Tyrael, Muradin, Mal'Ganis, and D tier Blaze, Mei, and Cho. So with that, I'm actually going to drag the tanks back down into this lower section, just so that we don't get as confused. And that could just be for my brain, right? Having so many up at once is like, whoa. But anyway, so with Deathwing, I think we're going to throw him into a B to start. May, you're supposed to go down here. And then that leads us to Ragnaros. I actually really like Rag, and he's really, really good in multiple types of the game modes, right? In ARAM, he's pretty good as long as the rest of your picks on your team are pretty good, right? Makes sense, it's ARAM. But even in quick match, he has some abilities in his ultimates you can pick either way. You can build him multiple different types of ways. You can build him for damage or build him for lane. So he's really, really strong. I don't know if he's quite S tier strong, but I would go A tier here. Varian, on the other hand, I would go S tier strong. And here's the thing. His lane clear isn't very good, but Varian becomes that situational bruiser that makes him very strong. You could build Twin Blades or Colossal Smash, giving you more damage and being that bruiser type, or you can build Taunt and become very tanky, sometimes even more than other tanks. Plus, with a Taunt, which Garrosh has as well, thinking about tanks, you have a chance to pull someone out of the enemy team and focus them down with your team very quickly. So I think the Varian is an S tier in my opinion. I play him quite a lot as well, which I'm sure helps with the bias, but he is really, really good. That leads us to Yrel. Yrel is also pretty good. I would definitely say she's better than Deathwing. But once again, she's kind of like Varian in the sense of you can build her multiple ways, but I don't think she's as good as Varian, and I don't think she's as good as Ragnaros. So I would say B tier for now. I do believe she's better than Deathwing. Okay, this leads us to another one of those tricky heroes to play. This is Malthius, I believe is how it's pronounced. But very, very good as he builds up. So he's one that really relies on his talents, really relies on... he's a harder hero to play. But if he's played well, he is really good. To the point where I don't quite want to give him the A tier because of how difficult he is. But I will give him the B tier and probably the top of the B tier for now. That leads us to Cho. Cho's another one that's actually more difficult to play. You have to be very careful because you can do damage to yourself and Cho. And this is different than Cho'Gall, by the way. So obviously, this is the panda. But I would say C. Like, even though he's a little bit more difficult, his payoff doesn't feel as good. Like, you have to have a really, really good Cho for the payoff to feel well. That brings us to Artanis. Artanis could make an argument for S tier, and maybe we'll have to look at that at the end, but he's definitely A tier. His ability to train down the enemy tanks or bruisers, really good, as well as being able to pick off any assassins that might be a little lower on the health pool. Artanis, as he builds, and you can go multiple ways with Artanis as well, makes him very, very strong. So Artanis is a fun character, definitely in a line with Rag. I'd probably give Rag a little bit more at the edge, though. That leads us to Dahaka. Dahaka's another probably A tier hero. Really, really good. And actually, Dahaka's going to be S. I not like thinking about who I get annoyed to play against in this look at the bruisers. I really don't like playing against Dahaka. If you have a good Dahaka, they have an ability where they can kind of grip you and pull you, and you can just get displaced so easily. Their ability to hide, their ability to heal and survive, phenomenal. So I would go Dahaka S tier as well with Varian, actually. Leoric. Leoric is very fun, but feels very weak, unfortunately. Like, when you die, you have to kind of stay near the enemy team to try to get your health back, and you're resurrected there. So he's unique for sure, but because of that, I think he's in line with Cho, and if not, he's actually D tier. I don't feel like his lane clear is very strong. Yeah, he's a big body, and his ultimate can be helpful, but more often than not, I just feel like he drags the team down. And I know that's maybe controversial, so I'd love to hear what you think about him, but that's my take there. I think he's D tier. Now that brings us to Rhaegar. Rhaegar is another one that I'm not very good at, but I know people that are, and he can be a very big help to the team. But going off just this tier list is my personal opinion, obviously, while trying to keep other things in mind. And so because of that, I'm going to put him in the D tier. Like, I feel like more often than not, in the games that I've had with him, he's not very helpful. But once again, I know that, and this is something I do know as I've, done some research and different things. I know people do like to play him in ranked, though. So if you are good at him, I think that he has a big learning curve, but can be really good. That brings us to Hogger. Now, Hogger is also an argument for S tier. Oh, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to, controversial take, I'm going to put Hogger S tier, not before Dahaka, but he's another one of those bruisers that can build multiple types of ways, and really, he's great for lane. He's also great for hero damage, so you really have an all-around build. He can get out with his torpedo, so there's a lot that Hogger can do. I think he's really good. Sonya, without hesitation, goes up to the S tier. Now, as far as where she is on this list, I think she's probably, you could put her before Dahaka or after Dahaka. I'm going to put her after Dahaka. But I think she's another S tier, where Sonya's really, really good. Once again, I've said this so many times, multiple ways you can build her, but is really, really good. Can be a bit more tanky, can be a bit more damage based. Really fun to play as well, and very annoying to play against. So Sonya's another great hero. Diva, I want to be good, but unfortunately I don't feel like she's great, so she's probably going to join the C tier. She can be really fun as she levels up, but like, it's very difficult, I think, for her to be as effective as some of these other bruisers. So is she a fun hero to play? Absolutely. But, and please, if you have a build for Diva that I don't know of, please link it. That's one amazing thing you can do with heroes, is kind of share builds. So please link it. I'd love to give her another try. Zol. Zol is very strong, but also can be very fragile. especially near the beginning of the game. However, the lane clear on Zol is kind of unmatched, so I think I'm going to put him up into the A tier. I don't think he's quite as good as this S tier group we've got going, but A tier for sure. Imperious is another one that I feel like wants to be good, but isn't always. And so I'd actually put him right above Diva. Not quite, well, yeah, right above Diva, but I'm actually going to bring Deathwing down. Yes, I think that's what I'm going to do. Imperious is a very good assassin, can be pretty annoying, but if you just know you're going up against an Imperious, you just play accordingly to counter them. And then they become kind of useless to their team. They have to hit some of their abilities in order to be very effective. If you pay attention to that, you can just bulldoze away. Now, Gazlo is very strong in ARAM, but I don't feel like he is as strong in a quick match. He can be. His lane clear is very, very good, which is why I'm going to put him in B. But I still don't think he's as good as some of these other ones above them, right? That's the point of a tier list. So for now, I'm going to throw him at the top of the B tier. That brings us to our last bruiser in Thrall. Now, Thrall is a very fun hero to play. Once again, right, I think that is a factor that we have to keep in mind. But I don't think he's as effective as these other ones. I'm trying to think if I want to put him in the B or the C, though, because he can do a lot of damage and be very annoying. Yeah, I think I'm going to put him in the B tier as well. So going through the list here, here's my bruiser side of these tier list. We have Varian, Dehaka, Sonya, and Hogger up in the S tier. We have in the A tier Ragnaros, Artanis, and Zol. In the B tier we have Gazlo, Matthias, Urel, I think is how it's pronounced, and Thrall. And then C tier we have Deathwing, Imperious, Diva, and Sho. And then in the D tier we have Leoric and Rexar. Hope you guys like this build. I want to hear what your thoughts are, and if you have not played Here's the Storm, please jump in. All the heroes are free to play right now until June 15th, so it's the best time to jump in. Let's play some games, and let's make Here's the Storm fantastic and poppin' off once again. Have a good one, guys. Bye.